Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Madam Clerk, may I have the roll call, please?
Kurt Schultz.
Here.
Chuck Schultz.
Here.
Storm Peterson.
Here.
Mike Cunningham.
Here.
Jennifer Eden. Here. And David Walker's absent.
Does anybody have anything to add to the agenda? And I'll take a motion.
So moved. Second.
It's been motioned and supported to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Agenda is approved. Next is approval of the consent agenda. The regular meeting minutes from January 21st, 2020, the treasurer's report, clerk's warrants and bills.
So moved. Support.
It's been motioned and supported to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? The consent agenda has been approved. Next, we moved on to communications. We have three items for communications. Item number one is the Planning Commission meeting synopsis from February 11th, 2020. Item number two is the Planning Commission approved meeting minutes from November 12th, 2019. And number three is the Fire Service report for February 13th, 2020.
Move to place them on file. Support.
It's been motioned and supported to receive communications 1 through 3 and place on file. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Next is public remark. If anybody would like to make any public remarks, this is your time to speak. Please limit your time to 3 minutes if possible. Anybody have anything that they would like to add, talk about? Yes, sir. Or yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
My name is Nancy Light, that's my husband Roger Light, and we're here representing our daughter Christina Light. She's running for Congress for the 8th District. She's lived in Livingston County all of her life. Part of her law school training was in Holt. We went to Ingham, and she took her training at Cooley Law School. She's an attorney. She's pro-life. She's for the Second Amendment. She's a Republican, and she wants to serve you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? All right, with that being said, we'll move on to unfinished business, and we have none, which takes us to new business. Item number one would be a resolution to sell the Center Road Township Hall property. As you know, we've had a couple of offers on it. We do have a current offer for $325,000. This is well over what we had our market survey done by the real estate agent, and this exceeds the appraised value, which was at $225,000. The township board did conceptually agree to move forward with this. The key component to this is the historical old town hall, is what I'll refer to it as. Not the one that we just moved out of, but the one that was moved to that site and is the historical site. We had put into this contract that we have 1.5 years to relocate that building. So I know this all came kind of quick, so now we have 1.5 years. We can work with the Historical Society and residents and send out communications in the township newsletter on how we're going to proceed, and see if we can raise some additional funds to relocate that building. And also, another key component of that would be, what's the future use? So that's a different topic, but I just wanted to let you know that that is in the contract, so we still have an option to relocate that site for 1.5 years. All the provisions are here in the contract. This is very similar to the contracts that our attorney's done for other real estate ventures that we've had in the past. We sat down with the purchaser, and he agreed to all the terms and conditions conceptually. So the next step is for the board to approve the contract, so it can be signed, and then we can go ahead and get it over get its title and close on it. Any comments or thoughts, questions?
So we have the option for up to a year to
Year.
move the town hall?
A year
Or
and a
what-
half.
What, or a year and a half, so what happens if we do nothing? What is it? Do they just keep it?
They would keep it. We could also, if we still needed more time, I'm sure we could ask him for that. He's not an unreasonable man, and I don't know, that would be a problem to say, hey, John, we need a little bit more time, so.
So are you looking for someone to resolve?
Well, I just wanted to make sure that everybody was fine with it or had any other questions, and then if not, then we could go ahead and resolve.
So resolve.
Okay.
Support.
It's been resolved and supported to approve the sale of the Old Township Hall for $325,000 with all the pre-described conditions. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Mike Cunningham,
Yes.
Jennifer Eden,
Yes.
Kurt Schultz,
Yes.
Sloan Peterson,
Yes.
Chuck Schultz,
Yes.
and I say yes.
Would you pass those contracts back to me, please? Thank you. If you guys need to see them again, let me know, I can email them to you. Item number 2 is a resolution to establish guidelines for granting poverty exemptions from property taxes. Michigan statute allows you to claim a poverty exemption for your property tax. This is something that we have to do every year. We have to pass this resolution in order to be able to accommodate those exemptions. So it's just something we do every year.
There's no changes to it.
No.
There's something highlighted in red.
Was there?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
there was, but I don't know.
Let me see.
There's two
Yeah,
or three
it was
things.
on, page 4 and 6.
Oh, I think the actual property guideline table changed, and we've had the asset test.
Now it goes on the household, the members of the household.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anybody living in the home,
There's an asset
Minor
test.
or not.
I think it's
It's,
family size. It's
yeah, it's 18 or under, I believe.
Okay.
Or if they're a full-time college student living at home.
This is more of a discussion part, but if I'm reading this right, if you have a minor in the home that has assets, or that is taken under consideration for the owner of the property,
The minor's assets, I believe, are not. I believe it's the applicant. Because a lot of minors' assets are protected by law, especially for like a childhood actor or something like that.
let's see here, members, all members,
I think it does. Anyone in the home that
I hate
resides
to
in
be
the
the one
home.
to have this discussion like this, because I know this has been in place for a while, but I'm just trying to make, if this is, the way I read it, it looked like anybody in the household's assets are up for grabs, for evaluating.
I think that's how it is.
I don't know, I have to check the assessor to make 100% sure on that.
But this is the unchanged policy on each one, right? That
Well, the
you're
asset
saying-
table changed.
Well, there was some in red.
I think that might have been the next one.
I thought there was something on here that changed.
we're uncertain about it and it's an issue, we can always,
Is it time sensitive?
not that I'm aware of.
It does say combined assets of
Yes.
all persons.
Yes.
Where did you see that? Cause I'm
It's on
lost
number
on my
4.
small copy here.
Look up here, on number 4. It says of all persons.
Yeah, I thought that's what I had read.
I don't know if minors are exempt from that or not.
So that was the only thing that it's a question. I don't know if it's,
And the size of the family is everybody included, that's children and,
yeah, so you're
Right.
looking at dependence on the size of the family, so on number 4, yeah.
what assets would a child have, like a savings account?
So I guess my
Sure.
question is,
Yeah.
What-
or-
what would that play into,
Well,
passing the
we'll say you
resolution?
have parents that fell on hard times, and maybe the child has assets, maybe they're a child actor, or maybe they were willed something from their grandparents in their possession. If they're looking at all the combined assets of all persons, is that because it's based off of the number of people in the household, minors or not? And if you're including the minors in their assets, if they happen to have some, that's included in that. I'm just, does that make sense?
yes,
And is that right?
that's what it says.
Well, I think that's
That's my question,
some of
is that
the
right?
state's guideline too. They take all, cause these used to be just done by the county, and they take
Okay.
all assets of everybody living in the household. Because you can have multiple families living in one household, and you have to take into account
Right.
all of them.
But I just-
You do raise a valid point, if they are a childhood actor, a lot of that money goes into a trust. and it
Right.
Cannot be counted towards income.
Yeah, assets and trust would not be.
That was,
That would that be the same?
that's the Gary Cooper law.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if an asset and a trust cannot
Two
be,
separate things.
are two separate things, then I guess that would make my point known.
It's just like retirement assets wouldn't be figured in on that either. Any retirement account would not be included in IRAs, 401ks, pensions.
Yeah, it says, it has a list of assets.
What
Second
did-
home, vehicles, buildings, jewelry.
We look at buildings, we look at tax returns. We've actually disqualified an applicant because their assets, income-wise, they were there, but they had a bunch of classic cars. And social media proved that. Be careful what you put out there.
Well,
Kick in the butt.
I think my question was answered.
Okay. Any other questions regarding the poverty exemption?
Nope.
Motion,
So
it's a
resolved.
resolution. You, Chuck resolved it?
No, Kurt did.
Well, Kurt did. Do we have a second?
I'll support it, based
Okay.
on Kurt's answer to, or,
So,
yes.
It's been resolved and supported to establish the guidelines for granting poverty exemptions from property taxes. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Soren Peterson,
Yes.
Chuck Schultz,
Yes.
Mike Cunningham,
Yes.
Jennifer Eden,
Yes.
Kurt Schultz,
yes,
and Lucy yes.
Next is, item number 3, it's an amendment to the emergency cost recovery ordinance number 24. The attorney that works for our collection agency wanted to add, some provisions under section 3, which is right there, red. Non-applicability of no fault, so it makes it a lot easier for them to collect on these. So this is the language that she actually took from another ordinance and we tailored it for us. They were a city and we're a township. So that's what she asked, and I ran it by our attorney and he goes, Yeah, no big deal, you can go ahead and put it in there. So, it's just another mechanism to help us with our cost recovery, and it basically just says that, it's non-applicability of no-fault act. And provides the authority of the township to collect cost recovery charges for fire and emergency services.
From our attorney is good enough for me, so I will make a motion to adopt that. What is that?
It is
Amendment.
ordinance amendment, so it'd have to be a resolution.
Resolution, so I will resolve to amend it.
I'll second.
It's been resolved and supported to amend the emergency cost recovery ordinance number 24. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call vote again, please.
Jennifer Eden,
Yes.
Kurt Schultz,
Yes.
Mike Cunningham,
Yes.
Soren Peterson,
Yes.
Chuck Schultz,
Yes.
and I say yes.
Next is item number 4. That's a contract with Dougie's Disposal for waste collection service in Laurel Springs. Talk about that, or-
So Laurel Springs petitioned to have a special assessment for a single waste hauler, and we assessed them this December for collection that's going to start April 1st of next year. I got a lot of calls from residents of Laurel Springs, and they all expressed an interest to have Dougie's be their waste carrier, and the price that they're giving us is, actually it's the best price of any of the 3 companies by a little bit, and they're keeping the price consistent for the first 3 years. So, I have a contract here to enter into for 3 years. And I think it's 3 years. With Dougie's.
It's locked in, it looks good to me. Good price.
Does anybody want to speak in opposition to it? Let's move it forward.
There's only one thing I see on for the yard waste, it should be 3 bags. That's,
Yeah, I know the email said
Yeah.
2, but when we talked, you
Yeah.
did say 3, so I will
should be up
change
to 3
that.
bags.
Well, that makes it even easier now.
Yeah.
So moved.
Support.
Where's that?
It's been motioned and supported to approve the contract with Dougie's Disposal for waste collection in Laurel Springs. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? There you go. Next is the contract with Republic Services for waste collection in Jane Hill subdivision.
So, excuse me, Jane Hill has been with Republic Services for, well, since before I came, and, they've been usually having a 3% increase. They are now at a 3.5% increase. We have a 4-year contract that's being proposed because there's 4 years left on the special assessment. So after 4 years is up, then if they wanna continue with having a single waste hauler, they'd have to, either re-petition or contact us. So this is just showing what the rates are gonna be, the monthly rates for Republic Services for those 4 years.
Has their assessment been set and covered this, or,
Yeah.
and they wanna stay with Republic?
Yeah, I only had one complaint around Christmas time, from someone with a large item, but nobody has contacted me to express any interest in switching or any dissatisfaction with them.
Is anybody opposed to that one?
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and supported to approve the contract with Republic Services for waste collection in Jane Hill subdivision. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that motion carries too. Moving on to item number 6, contract with Republic Services for waste collection in Shannon Glen subdivision.
So Shannon Glen's contract is expiring the end of March, and this is proposing a 5-year contract because there's still at least 5 years left in the special assessment district. These are the rates with a 3.5% increase for the 5 years starting April 1st. I did get estimates from, well, I got estimates from GFL and from Republic Services for this one. GFL, the rates would have been, by the time you factor in the garbage pickup, recycling, a couple other charges, it would have been $281 a year. So it's much higher than what Republic Services is. I contacted Dougie's, but they had told me that,
We were actually told that they were staying with Republic, that's why we didn't put them in. I mean, if I know it's that much, I mean, they'll be same as Laurel Springs. I mean, we're still, the point is right now is we're actually still going in there because there's residents refusing with Republic.
They're paying us to go.
They're
in
paying us
still.
still to go in there and pick up, even though they're paying it through the taxes, they still pay us to go in there because they refuse to have.
Was that from the homeowners association, that statement
Yeah.
came that?
Yeah.
okay.
And actually, we were notified last week that they didn't get their trash picked up in the whole subdivision last week too. It's been kind of a,
And there were only 2 inches of snow. I talked to a guy who contacted Republic, and he told him, there's 2 inches of snow on the ground.
yeah, I don't know why it didn't get picked up last Thursday. I do know that I talked to Sid Martin from the HOA, and he did talk to Gary Hicks from Republic Services. He just told him it was weather related.
We're not arguing here, we understand.
I can't control
Right.
them, but, and I know they had some issues with yard waste over the summer, oops. But I believe we've gotten that worked out. You can probably,
No, they had some issues and they've got it resolved. I think they had like 2 or 3 different issues. This issue with the trash not being picked up last Thursday was unusual because they are pretty much there like clockwork.
okay,
And they picked, and the recycle people came and took care of their part of it. And then the other one, we were told that it was weather related, so. I mean, they could have slid off the road and damaged their truck,
Right.
you know, whatever weather related
Right.
means, so. But like you say, the recycle got picked up and like nobody's business.
okay, that's good.
So if this is what they want, is there anybody who wants to argue against it? Let's do a motion.
So moved. This is your company they want.
Support.
Support, yeah.
Yep. It's been motioned and supported to approve the contract with Republic Services for waste collection in Shannon Glen subdivision. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? That motion carries. Next is item number 7. That is the cemetery and lawn maintenance contract with Murph's Turf.
The only thing different on this, we talked to him, and the only thing that he's going to increase is, he's increasing the mowing from $50 to $60 for this location, just because it's a little bigger than the other location.
Just a
But
skosh.
he's keeping his prices the same for all of the cemeteries, which I think is just ridiculous, but, that's what he wants. And he does a great job, he does a
Yep.
great job.
I moved to accept it.
Support.
Maintenance.
It's been motion and second to approve the cemetery and lawn maintenance contract with Murph's Turf. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Next is the request of the Heartland Senior Center funds. Every year, this is something we do. This allows our residents to gain membership at the Heartland Senior Center activity. Everybody still has to buy a membership when they get there, but this allows our residents to do it. They're asking for $4,400 this year, and pretty much I think what we gave them last year, same amount.
And this makes it no cost to the residents?
They still have to pay their membership card, but it allows them to do that. If we didn't contribute to this, they probably wouldn't accept them.
I think it's good, I guess.
I mean, we got 4,400, well, we don't have that many seniors, but.
We pretty much do the same thing we've been doing this for a long.
We do have, yeah, we've been doing
this
it.
for a long time.
Oh, yeah, we've been doing it longer before the time I've been here, so at least 10 years. And they seem to like it, and we have a real high turnout from Tyrone Township that goes down there, so.
I move to, donation, or is that?
Yes.
It's a request for
It's
funds.
a request for funds. I move to continue the 4,400 to the,
Heartland Senior Activity.
senior.
Yeah.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and supported to approve the $4,400 funds for Heartland Senior Center. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Next is Board of Review appointment. We have a spot that was open on the Board of Review. Don Lavasco has applied for the position. I would like to recommend that we appoint him to the Board of Review. Don has done numerous things around here. He's been on our zoning board of appeals. He's actually volunteered, done a lot of maintenance work around here. He does elections, and we're familiar with him. And I think he will serve our board of review quite well, so.
I am an equal opportunity pain in the ass.
Better.
Better come from me.
There we go.
Better come from me.
So.
I'll make the
I'll
motion.
motion to appoint, Don.
Support.
It's been motioned and supported to appoint Don Lavasco to the Board of Review. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Don.
And I will keep that little piece of paper you gave me in front of me when I do these meetings. Remember what you wrote on it? Try not to make an ass of yourself.
I have no recollection of that.
He's got it in writing.
All right, item number 10 is budget review. As you know, we kind of preliminarily went through this. The budget will be balanced. We did change a few things. We kind of upped our revenue. We actually had it below, we had it at 409,000. But last year we got 435, the previous year we had 416, so I upped our revenue to 416,864. I always stay conservative on that because when you get more, it's a good thing. Property taxes are pretty much the same. I don't recall making anything too drastic on this page. A couple of line items we decreased a little bit. Going on to the next page.
The only change was dog license.
The dog license, yeah,
Or down, excuse me.
we set that down. We thought the revenue would be down on that. So actually, originally we had proposed that we were gonna get 1.5 million, 1,576,000. We upped that to 1,502,000. Salaries will only be a percentage this year, 3%. Nothing in the supervisor's department went up drastically. Actually, I dropped education and training. It was a lot higher than that, so I dropped it down to 1,600. Don't even see need for that, but it's always good to not have to go back and do budget amendments. Same thing with the clerk's department. We did have a little bit of salary increases there. Nothing jumps off as far as education costs. I think we upped our postage a little bit and a couple other things. Meeting, conference, and training went up a little bit. Board of review, there were no changes there. Same thing with treasury, 3% there. Training did go up a little bit. Tax bills, postage, and printing, we increased $1,200. Elections, it's a big election year. We've got 3 elections. So you can see that last year's budget was about $1,000 for hourly wages. This year it's $5,000. Now, granted, a lot of this election costs do come back to us, but we still have to budget for it because it's gonna be an expense and then it'll be reimbursed.
Well, not this next year. We will pay for all of it, except for May, the school election, but August and November is where the big one is.
Yeah, the presidential, the
We'll cover
primaries.
that.
Hourly overtime is up. The training is up in elections, mileage is up, the election materials is up, election food, so basically we budgeted $271 for elections. Last year we spent $17,000. Building and grounds, we have a little bit larger building, so we upped our propane. That's about it.
Might need to be higher.
Yeah, we added that on another line. We added, building and repairs, $12,000, because we have to fix the entrance there where the concrete is. It's not ADA compliant, so we budgeted $12,000 for that. What was the question?
On the propane and heating,
We
it
raised
looks
it
like
to
it only went up
Yeah,
$730.
But this
Think
is
that's
what we are, this
sufficient?
is our activity for this year.
Okay,
that was for 2 buildings.
okay.
So we were heating the old building and this building for parts of the time. And during that heating time, you know how it is with construction, doors are open a lot, people going in and out. And even though this building is twice the size, it's far better insulated. So I think we kicked that one around a little bit. So I think we're there. We'll know for sure after we get at least 1 year in here.
Right.
I talked about building repairs and maintenance. Cemetery pretty much stayed the same. Unallocated stayed the same. Hostess meter, we increased a little bit to $700. Address sign expense, we bumped up $40. Document shredding, we did have a lot of activity last year. 517, that's because we were moving, we had, some things that needed to get shredded and were already digitized. And we also had the retention schedule documents that needed to be shredded as well. So last year's activity was at 517, I budgeted 500 just to make sure that we don't go over. Miscellaneous expenses, we had activity of $880, but I budgeted $800 this year. I don't think we're gonna have as much miscellaneous expense because we're moved in now. Public Works, street lighting, that all stays the same. Planning Commission, I think we kept all that pretty much flat. raised. Same thing with ZBA, that stayed the same. Zoning administrator, the 3% for the wages, overtime. Education and training, we did bump up a little bit to $1,500. Not saying that we're gonna use it, it's just there. Legal fees, I bumped up just a little bit, added $400 to it, cause our legal fees went up last year. Actually, I decreased, most all the departments, we decreased, computer costs because I think we're only buying a couple this year, if any. Ordinance enforcement, wages went up a little bit, because of the percentage. Insurance bonds and fringes, we went up with the, put that up a little bit because there was an estimated 11% increase, but it's not actually gonna be that. Transfers out. Technology fund, we actually stripped that out, put that into the individual departments 2 years ago, even though it's still on the budget. That'll be off there next year. Moving on to page, we're on page 16 now, capital outlay. This is where we budgeted for our HVAC. We knew that when we bought this building that the HVAC system is near end of life, so we started with, this year we're gonna replace two air conditioning, or 2 heating units, 2 furnaces, 1 air conditioning unit, and zone that end of the office. So we budgeted $40,630 for capital outlay for that. Nothing else on that page. Estimated revenues, these are estimated revenues for 5-run collections. We kept that pretty much flat. We know that the special assessment revenue is gonna go up a little bit. These are just revenues from the funds, estimated revenues, they're all flat. Liquor law enforcement inspection, we expect a little bit of revenue increase there. All the special assessment budgets is what we're getting into now on page 20. Those are all set fees, so that's already pre-budgeted out. So those are all the special assessments. Then we get on to page 24. Start talking about okay. Then we have special assessment revenues, estimated appropriation for roads. Now we get into the expenditures for roads on page, let's see here. Roads for here we go. Page 27. Roads, we've budgeted $465,000. That is for, to finish the gravel work, tree work and ditching on Linden Road from Dean to Center, then from Hogan all the way to Bennett Lake Road, so we'll be done ditching, graveling, and tree work on Linden Road. Then, we are going to pave the section starting on White Lake from the bridge at 23 to Carver. And we are also going to chip seal Bennett Lake Road from White Lake to the county line. As you remember, we talked about that. That's the road that we paved about 8 years ago, and the chip seal will help expand the life of that. So that's what we budgeted for in roads, plus the road chloride, which we budgeted at $85,000. So if you have anything else as far as expenses that are I think that's about it. You have a question?
The chloride.
Mhm.
Is that, historically, it is going up. Well, do we expect more, are we going to be responsible for more dirt road this year than previous year? By the way,
This year, we have the border roads, which
Okay.
are
so that explains the difference.
part of Tipsco Lake Road. We have Partial Road, Holtforth Road, McGuire Road, and that's it. But we have to pick up every other year, and then the other townships take care of it. So that's how we worked it. Any other questions about the budget? I'm not looking for a motion, I'm just letting you know that this is what I'm preparing for my budget presentation that we'll present at either the next meeting or the meeting after, probably next meeting. And then we'll get a resolution to support it. But those are all the changes that we had previously discussed and what was made between the three of us and the accountant. So just wanted to keep you apprised of where we were and what changes were made. So, any questions about budget? Okay. Miscellaneous business, we have none. Public remarks? Yes, Charlie?
I have a question regarding the historic hall.
Yes.
During that 1.5 year period, will it be covered by insurance, fire, vandalism?
Yeah, we'll keep insurance on it.
Would it be heated during the winter time?
Yes. Yeah, that's all taken care of and discussed in the contract, and we'll be responsible for any of the maintenance on it.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
But they're gonna actually, the buyer is actually
I've
gonna,
got two things, Mike. One, I've been out of the loop for a while, but I'd like to know what the drainage situation is for northern Livingston County here, as far as where the progress is on that, or if it's still.
You're talking about the Apple Orchard subdivision?
Well, it's linked through that, yes.
Yeah. What's happening is, they're at the point where they're trying to acquire easements. There has been some difficulty with that, and, it's not that it's, something that's not typical. Anytime you start asking residents for permission to dig up their yard and put a sewer pipe or a culvert in, it gets to be a little bit challenging, so that's, the drawings are there, everything's ready, we just have to get those easements before we can proceed.
Okay, my other concern is, kind of with I'd like to know where the township kind of stands with, it sounds like we have to have different sight lines now for new build, for new construction now. What's, kind of goes with this now?
Well, that is kind of something that's popped up. We need to have some more discussion about that. It's new, so,
Am I correct in thinking that if I wanna build something new, I have to have my neighbor's consent to determine what I build,
Are we
how
talking
I
lake?
build it, where I build it.
Are we talking lake properties and on the lake
I'm
shore?
talking
About
Any
any
property.
property, well,
Any property.
Cause that's kind of what it sounds like.
there, we have a situation with the resident right now that there's a request for sightline determination, and that's still being determined. So I know that there's talk about making changes to a zoning ordinance for it. And, I think that our next joint meeting, we're gonna discuss that a little bit further. So, there has not been any changes to our ordinance that make that an absolute requirement. It's, it can be requested a determination be made at this point right now, and it's a bit arbitrary, so I think that the planning commission had talked about doing something with it, but I think as a whole, the planning commission and the board need to have that discussion.
Okay, is it gonna take as long as the draining situation to move forward?
You know, I left my crystal ball at home tonight, and I kinda do that for a good reason, because, you know, these things, they take on a personality of their own.
Yeah,
So anytime you do a project or you try to develop an ordinance, and, you know, this would be an ordinance that I don't know what the right formula is. I don't know if there is a right formula for it. But I don't expect that someone would wave their hand over that crystal ball and we would have something in, you know,
So it sounds
3
like we
weeks.
have new tax dollars coming in, and then we're gonna stay stagnant with what's passed, when, you know, it's vacant land in a sense. You know, we're being dictated how we build, where we build it.
So would I take it that you are in opposition to sightline requirements?
Very much so.
Duly noted.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I have something, if we'd like to offer our services for Tyrone Township with, I talked to Marcy about this, the roadside pickup. Like couches being dumped on the side of the road, mattresses, tires, you know, toilets, stuff like that. We work with Heartland Township and Deerfield Township right now. And this is a service that we'd like to offer. How we work it right now is, who runs the department for the trash for the township, they'll call us, be like, you know, or an email, there's a couch over on Hawthorne's Road, or, you know, stuff like that. You know, we get stuff on 59, you know, all over the township areas, and we pick it up. I think within just a year, last year, it was just under $200 for Heartland, with all the bulk items, you know, stuff we picked up. So it's nothing crazy,
Right.
you know, it's just, we
We get a lot of calls of like customers that are stuck paying for a couch that was dropped in front of in their ditch or something, and they're like, we don't wanna pay for it, and, you know, so that's just something Heartland and Deerfield do for their
for the
residents.
residents. We get a lot of phone calls, and with Heartland and Deerfield, we work with them with that, and, you know, we're kind of stuck with Tyrone, because it's, you know, they're like, hey, there's a mattress over here, can you pick it up? And we're like, no, I can't. It's like, as much as I'd like to see it picked up, I can't
I've
do it
never
for
heard
free.
anybody say that they're stuck with Tyrone.
No,
Everybody's
no.
always glad about Tyrone.
Well, no, we get a lot of, I've had a couple people where there's mattresses dumped on 23, and we're like, well, it's in Tyrone, you know, it's, well, how do we get rid of it? We're like, well, you know, call the township, or, you know, we've had people drop off. Hogan Road's a famous one for a dumping ground.
Right.
I don't know
Sure.
why, but it's
country roads.
it's a
Well,
lot of rural
that's
area.
That's
and-
something we can, you know, add to an agenda and talk about.
Yeah, we would definitely like to offer that, so.
Anyone else? Yes, Doug.
I would like the mattress picked up on 23, old 23 in the woods, right?
the Bolton farm?
Yeah.
Didn't it
Yeah.
get picked up?
Working on
Oh, it didn't get picked up
We're
yet?
trying to get them.
it. Oh, it's been there for a couple of years.
We usually get it within like 2 days.
Yeah,
Within that week.
within that week, we get a phone call, and it's picked up, so that's another.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? All right, since we have no more public comment, we have no more business, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
Been motioned and supported to adjourn the meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Meeting's adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Sidelines, sir.